Good morning. A quorum being present, the subcommittee will come to order. I want to welcome everyone to today's subcommittee hearing, and I'd like to thank our panel of witnesses and our members for joining today's discussion about the economic benefits of reforming outdated, costly, and burdensome regulations that are having a negative impact on American businesses, large and small, and the work of Congress, this committee, and the administration since the beginning of last year. Not all regulations are bad, but today's hearing will explore the benefits of responsible regulatory reform, how regulatory costs can be controlled to allow for the continued growth of the nation's economy, and the importance of Congress and the administration continuing to collaborate on a regulatory reform agenda. Our panel of witnesses today are well suited to discuss this subject, and I look forward to hearing their thoughts as well as their ideas about where this committee should look for future reform efforts. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's witnesses. Dr. Douglas Holtz-Eakin is president of the American Action Forum here in Washington, D.C. Mr. Ryan Odendahl is president of Quest Group of Perrysburg, Ohio, and is testifying on behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors, Inc. Dr. Heidi Shierholz, did I say that right? Good. I'm always trying to make sure. With a name like Byrne, people get that messed up, so I appreciate that we got that one right. She is the senior economist and director of policy at the Economic Policy Institute. And Dr. Karen Harned is executive director of the National Federation of Independent Business Small Business Legal Center here in Washington, D.C. All right, I will now ask our witnesses to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Let the record reflect the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Thank you, Dr. Holtz-Eakin. I now recognize Mr. Odendahl for 5 minutes.
Chairman Byrne, Ranking Member Takano, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today to discuss the important issues facing our nation's workforce. My name is Ryan Odendahl, and I'm the president of Quest Group, a civil and environmental merit shop construction firm based in Perrysburg, Ohio. I also serve as the chairman of the Associated Builders and Contractors ABC National Safety Committee. Today's hearing focuses on the need for regulatory reform to further unleash economic opportunity in the United States. Providing a safe workplace that supports the health and wellness of employees is vital to a productive and efficient workforce that increases our industry's economic impact. It is also undeniably the right thing to do. My company and many employers in the construction industry work diligently to ensure the safety of our workforce, and I believe we share this concern with our federal agencies. While enforcing the law and ensuring that bad actors are held accountable for their actions is necessary, it's my experience that our federal agencies work most effectively when they collaborate with our employers to focus on proven, data-driven, and common-sense measures that support safe workplaces and effectively reduce the rates of injury, illness, and fatalities. The welfare of our workforce is best preserved by promoting best practices and genuine leadership to establish a culture of safety in the workplace. My entire organization is committing to upholding the stellar safety requirements that are also espoused by ABC. At Quest Group, we have a saying with respect to our safety program that safety excellence requires shared participation and shared responsibility. And I'm proud to state, extremely proud to state, that our employees have worked over 2 million person hours without a lost time incident. Our sustained performance can be attributed to a vigorous safety culture that engages associates throughout the organization with an understanding that safety excellence and the welfare of our team members requires that each person, every person, has a responsibility to be a safety leader. Through our membership with ABC, we also participate in the association's Safety Training Evaluation, or STEP process. Established in 1989, STEP serves as a benchmarking and improvement tool for achieving world-class safety performance in construction. Members measure their safety processes and policies on 20 key components through a detailed questionnaire and learn to enhance and implement additional safety programs. The best performing ABC STEP participants, the diamond level participants, have been shown to have workplaces far safer than the industry average, with an 85% reduction in total recordable incident rates, making them 670% safer than industry average. Leaders in our industry are striving to drive a culture of accident prevention. and I believe that all accidents are preventable, and the right leadership and culture that invests in employee safety education and engagement will lead to safer projects, increased economic output, and success in our industry. While it's my firm belief that most agency professionals share this view, we're all subject to the changing priorities of different administrations. In its worst form, counterproductive methods can place a greater value on excessive fines and enforcements used to shame companies into compliance than they do preventative measures. As a U.S. Marine, I was trained to lead from the front, and this philosophy feels very much like leading from behind. The collective goal of zero harm can best be achieved as a collaborative effort between regulators and industry professionals. Burdensome and confusing obligations on our employers often do nothing to improve job site safety, but instead stifle our workforce and ignore insightful input from our industry experts. Congress and this administration have already taken important steps towards correcting the workplace safety culture, including this committee's important work to repeal the controversial Volks rule. Our companies and industry experts, I firmly believe, are anxious to share their valuable experiences to promote workplace safety. In this spirit, OSHA currently has a panel review process under SBREFA that allows for the agency to meet with representatives of directly regulated small entities and offers an opportunity to provide advice and recommendations on regulatory alternatives to minimize the burden on small entities. These panel reviews can provide valuable insight from top safety experts in our business communities and help guide the development of workable regulations that will lead to the improvement of workplace safety throughout the country. I applaud this committee for its work to address these critical issues facing our workforce today, and sincerely thank you for the opportunity for being invited to speak on this panel. I look forward to answering any question that the members may have.
Mr. Odendahl, thank you for taking time away from your business to travel here today to share your perspective on the impact of federal regulations. It's inspiring to hear about the safety culture within your company. You mentioned in your testimony the importance of practical application of safety regulations. I actually hear this all the time from people in my district. Can you expand upon how OSHA can create regulations that translate easily and clearly to the job site? If there's any progress that OSHA has made recently in this regard, and can OSHA be doing more in this area?
Chairwoman Fox, thank you so much for that question. It's my belief that OSHA can create regulations that translate to the job site by partnering with industry. The collaborative effort by partnering with industry and industry experts who really want to help. We want to help create better regulations, more workable regulations. The production of guidance documents on regulations is hugely impactful for business. Frequently asked questions for regulations, existing and proposed, is fantastic. Any assistance with implementation and compliance that OSHA can provide is very good.
Thank you. I, again, hear this from employers in my district all the time. Rather than a got you kind of an attitude, it is, how can we work together? Because I know no employer that doesn't want their workers to be very safe.
Mr. Odendahl, I'm going to ask you a question that may seem kind of silly. Is it good for your business to have somebody injured on the job?
Chairman, thank you for the question. Absolutely not. It's not good for anyone to have a worker injured on the job, and that's the shared goal that we have with our regulators, both business and the regulator community, to keep our employees safe, to keep our workers safe, whether they're my employees, whether they're an employee on a project that I drove by on the road today. We have the obligation to keep those folks safe. That can best be done together, collaboratively, again, but the costs, not only the human cost is the largest cost of an employee hurt on a job site, you know, the impact to their family, the impact to their ability to earn a living, but it's the larger impact being the human cost. But in today's business world, it's just should go unsaid that harming a worker at the workplace is the wrong thing to do.
Great. All right. Thank you. To Mr. Odendahl, on that issue of false choice, Do you believe you have to choose between a reasonable regulatory climate and worker safety?
Thank you for the question. I don't believe that those two are mutually exclusive. I think regulations that are common sense and practical and implementable by contractors, combined with support from the agencies, I think everyone wins. It's that collaborative effort that we try to get to the goal together faster. We're seeing things right now from OSHA that lead to that goal. The safety stand-down earlier this month that focused on fall protection was extremely well put together. Very well done. The Trench Safety Partnership that OSHA announced with stakeholders in North Dakota for excavation safety. The OSHA Alliance program and the new on-site consultation programs, that is very refreshing for us to see. So I think that those two can go hand in hand for the betterment of our business and our economy and our employees.
I mean, OSHA should be protecting workers from getting hurt in the first place, not showing up after somebody's been hurt and dinging somebody. I mean, sometimes that's necessary, don't get me wrong, you got bad actors and they got to be fined. But if we could work with those businesses, and I've represented in my law practice small contractors, they're not always as togged out as you are, Mr. Odendahl, and they need some help. It'd be great for OSHA to get in there and work with them to show them what they can do to make their workplace safer so that nobody's injured in the first place. See, I heard some interesting things said about the cost or the value of a human life. You can't put a value on human life. Let's just face it. So it seems to me it's better off if Congress does our job. And our job is to do the legislating, not the regulatory agencies. We've not done a very good job of that in this area. Mr. DeSaulnier, I was listening to you. We've not done a very good job about that because everybody's gotten their corners. You can't somehow seem to come together and talk about these things. Many of these laws that we're talking about were written in the 30s and the 40s. The workplace of the 21st century doesn't resemble that era. We should be able to get together, Democrats and Republicans, and talk about how these laws and the regulatory environment make sense. Forget the employers for a second, for the people that work there. Because they obviously don't make sense in certain situations. I've been watching certain data for some time now. The percentage of people in America who work in unionized environments. The Obama administration was probably the most union-friendly administration that we've seen in decades, and yet union membership continued to decline. Why? Well, the most simplistic way to respond to that is what they're selling, workers ain't buying. But why are they, what is it they're selling they're not buying? They're selling something under a model that made sense in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Doesn't make sense anymore. That doesn't mean there's not a place for unions. It doesn't mean there's not a place for us to think about what that relationship is. But we haven't rethought the National Labor Relations Act in decades. We haven't really sat down and thought about what we can do with all the things we've learned since OSHA was passed, about having a better understanding under the statute about how employers who probably know as much more about workplace safety as the OSHA people do, from my experience, how employers can work with OSHA in a symbiotic relationship where we're doing the thing we ought to be doing, which is to do everything we can to make workers safe. But this committee and the Congress as a whole should never, ever rest and always do whatever we can to stand up for the average American worker. And with that, we'll bring this hearing to conclusion. Thank you. We are adjourned.